Welcome to the Wealthy Speaker Podcast, the show that offers you tips and strategies to help speakers build the business of their dreams. Now here's your host, 30-year industry veteran and business coach, Jane Atkinson.
Well, welcome everyone to the Wealthy Speaker Podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about how to move from speaking as a side hustle to a full-time 6 or 7 figure business. Our special guest, that's why I'm kind of giggling, is a client of mine from like way back. James Robbins, welcome to the show.
Jane, so great to see you after so many years.
I think we just figured it out that it was 2006. That is almost 20 years ago. We
Yeah.
worked together. And at that time, you were in the ministry. So talk about how you even what's your origin story here?
Yeah, when you and I met, I was a young preacher, but before that, I grew up on a small cattle ranch in the foothills of the Rockies in Alberta. Small, introverted, shy kid, and but anyways, I ended up going into the ministry, which was never on my list of things to do, but there I was, and of course, you've got to learn to speak if you're in the ministry. So I
Yes.
was always trying to up my game at learning presentation skills. And at the same time, I felt weird being in the ministry in that a lot of times I was in small churches, and on Sunday they would pass the collection plate, and it's like all your friends putting money in that you know is going to you, and I
Yeah,
hated that feeling. So I was
right.
always like, how can I like support myself in this, like so I don't have to take people's money? And I was always looking for these side hustles. Well, anyways, I read this book one time by a guy named Peter Urs Bender, and I know you remember the name, the great and
I
late.
totally knew Peter Ersbender. He was one of the first people I knew in the industry 35 plus years ago.
Yeah, amazing. But he wrote this book on presentation skills, and I go ahead and read it. And in the back was his phone number. And I'm like, well, surely this is not like his phone number. But I called it, and he picks up and he answers. And so we start talking, and he tells me he's a professional speaker. And back then, I didn't even know that that was a thing. And
Yeah.
he told me at the time, so this shows you how far this is in the 90s. He said, "Oh, I make $2,500 every time I speak." And I was like, that's more than I make in a month. And that was the first seed that planted for me of, oh, maybe you could do speaking as a side hustle. And that's really what started my journey. And but of course I needed a lot of help, and that's when I ran into you.
Oh my goodness. Well, and here we are talking nearly 20 years later. Let's give us a snapshot. Speaking is one of the profit centers of your business, but it's just a small one. Talk about the company that you have built. So, when you came out of the ministry, you really did want to focus on leadership. That was kind of always your focus right from the jump. Yes?
It was, although initially, a lot of people go into speaking because they've got this message on their heart. I was like, I just want a side hustle so that I can not have my friends pay my salary. But it was really like, well, what do I talk about? And I remember wrestling around with different ideas. And then I thought, well, I teach leadership in a not-for-profit setting. Why don't I do that? So that's
Mhm.
really where that began. I made a lot of mistakes early on, like trying to boil the ocean, like
Yes,
leadership's a broad topic, but there was
really
always
is.
fear of missing out. When I ran into you, you may not remember this, but um, I asked you to help me out. But again, I was this young, struggling preacher with not much money.
Yeah.
And you gave me a great deal to help me out, sort of like your not-for-profit rate or whatever
I
you did.
did? That does
You,
not sound like me at
you
all. That is so
did.
funny.
You were like, you even said to me, I don't know what it is about you, James, but I just want to help you out. And
Oh my
so I
gosh.
remember that. I remember that. And you had coaching times with me, and that really helped orient me. So, anyways, to answer your question, I initially went into it just thinking I have a speaking business. So the
Yeah.
goal was always just go speak, get on stage, and leave. And I left so much money on the table back in
Mhm.
those days, but that's where it started.
Yep.
But like everything, it evolves. And the first evolution was 2008 when when the market crashed, and
Yes.
I was just getting going, and the market crashed, and no one was hiring speakers. And that's when I began. That's when I started to write my first book, and I also created my first online program. And
Okay.
that added a significant. Those two things together added a significant piece to my business.
Tell everybody the title of that first book.
The book is called 9 Minutes on Monday. Excuse me. It's a leadership framework.
I like
And
that. I did my research and I thought that that book, give us a couple of concepts in the 9 Minutes on Monday book.
the idea is that leadership, though it can feel complicated and it's difficult, but leadership doesn't have to be complicated. And there's really a core set of drivers that drive engagement inside of human beings.
Mm-hmm.
And when you learn what those drivers are, then the biggest challenge is just to implement them. It's a
Mm-hmm.
little bit like, when it comes to getting six pack abs, there's probably not any new research coming out on that. Like we know how to get them. If you don't have them, I don't either. So no judgment. But if you don't have them, it's because you're not doing the things you know that you're supposed to
Yes.
do. So leadership is like that. So the 9 Minutes on Monday was a framework that people they create this ritual that on Monday morning they come in and they ask themselves 9 questions and they make a
Ooh.
small micro commitment for each one. Like who am I gonna take a genuine interest in today? Who am I going to coach this week?
Oh, I like that.
Things like that. Yeah, and it's really had a
So
big impact. So
it's about intention,
that's exactly it.
like
It's
being
how do
really
you be
intentional with
intentional?
your leadership. I love that. And can they get 9 Minutes on Monday at like Amazon and all the places?
Hmm. Yeah, you can get it on Amazon or any
Okay,
bookstore for sure.
cool. All right. So, let's talk. Okay, so continue telling me your overarching umbrella today. Like your business model is, are you doing some consulting? I know you have a book. I know you have courses. What else?
Yeah, it's a hodgepodge. I don't do as much speaking now. Not that I It's more that I don't need to do speaking. I
Mm-hmm.
can. I've got a new book coming out, so I'll ramp up some speaking then. But it's a
Okay.
complete different change of how I view the speaking business than I viewed it, 20 years ago. But 9 Minutes on Monday has been a big driver of business because with the book, we created an online program that
Right.
people can purchase, or a lot of times what happens is we work with a company and we take people through 10 weeks of that.
Yeah.
And that got me on a map of, it's when you get a book out, there's a certain authority that it adds. And
Mm-hmm.
that event, that ultimately led me to getting invited by John Maxwell and his team to go with him to South America, which it was just him and I for an entire day teaching. And
That
that
sounds
was,
amazing.
it was because as a young preacher, like the first leadership book I ever read was his. So then,
Yes.
fast forward 20 years later and in the green room with them, it was just a really cool experience. But
Full
all of that came
circle.
from the book and the program.
Okay, so flashpoint number one was really the book. And talk about the parallel. How long did you have your day job for and speak on the side back to the ministry days? How long did you keep speaking on the side for? Was that a number of years?
How that went was right after my time working with you, I had one of those burn the boat moments and I just quit ministry.
Okay.
And then that was 2008 was like the next year and the economy crashed. So
Oh.
after about 2 years of fighting through that, I thought, okay, I need to do something. Maybe I need to go back to ministry. I didn't want to do that for
Mm-hmm.
that reason. Um, but a position opened up in Florida, and so we went down there, and that was so basically I went back into the ministry, and like a year later, my book came out, and that's when speaking continued to pick up. Eventually, I was making more on the side gig than I was in the ministry, and then
Right.
at that point, I talked to the church and I said, "Hey, let's hire someone to take my place. I'll still be here and volunteer."
Yeah.
And then I did that, and that was a cool time.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, and that's exactly when is the time to leave for people. I think a lot of people are a little like, but if you set a goal that once you're reaching your monthly income from speaking, that's when you can, and you're not really burning the boats. You're kind of just jumping into another boat, aren't you? From one
You are,
boat
but
to the other.
I
Yeah.
think for a lot of people, there's still fear, right? There's
Yeah,
fear
for
like,
sure.
oh, I have health insurance, especially for those of you who are speakers in the US, right? I have health
Yes.
insurance, I have whatever.
Huge.
And it's ultimately it's just a bet on it's betting on yourself.
Yes, for sure. Okay. So we talked about the book being one flashpoint. I know you have another book, and then this new one coming out is called what?
The name is The Call to Climb,
The
and
Call.
it's not a leadership book. It's a self-development book. It's a fable. It's a
Okay.
book I had wanted to write for about 12 years and finally
Oh,
got around to it. So
that's
it's
cool.
going to be published by Wiley. I'm really
Nice.
excited. Can't wait for it to come out.
Wiley really understands how to work with authors and speakers, and so I think that's a great setup for you. So, okay, talk about some of the other moments in terms of speaking itself. I know you've gone, big into it, and then you've backed off a little bit now. What would you say were some of the other flashpoints? What are some things that you did marketing wise that really moved the needle for you?
So from a sales perspective, I think I would give myself a failing grade for
Oh,
most of my speaking career in terms of if I'm going
that's
to
because you're
define
a
it as just.
minister. You're a minister. You're having a hard time asking for the sale, right?
It was for sure for so
Oh my
long.
God.
I even had a hard time writing my bio at first. Like, well, James is, I mean, he's okay. Like,
I'm
that's what I
sounding like
wanted to say.
I'm sounding a little braggish. I don't want to brag. Also, you're Canadian, so that like
Exactly.
found two strikes not in your favor
For
against
sure.
selling, but you've overcome. So clearly something clicked in at some point in time.
Yeah, I mean, I tried a lot of different things. Obviously, you have given great advice over the years about reaching out to meeting planners and, call, send, call, but, don't do it in a weird way and build those relationships. So I did those things. I think the two biggest things that have helped my speaking career, other than doing a good job on stage, have been my ability to capture leads from stage. It's
Oh,
something that I've just figured out how to do. And on a bad day, I'll pull 70% of the audience, and on a good day, I'll pull 90%. I'll pull those
beautiful.
leads.
Let's walk
And
through that. What is your process for gathering leads?
it has to do with a couple of things. Number one, you've got to be in the right room. A breakout, like I used to always think like get the keynote, get the keynote. And
Mhm.
now I've come to learn like, okay, the keynote can be nice, but the breakout is where you can make your money. And most conferences I speak at, you're not allowed to sell from stage. Okay, no problem. The thing about the breakout is you are getting a room of people who are just coming to your topic. So it's actually better than the general session. So you're going
Yeah,
to get people to come there, and when you understand they're there to solve a problem.
yeah,
What I do now in those presentations is I actually design my presentation all to get the lead. They're still getting a ton of value,
yes.
but what I do is it's all how you structure your talk, but I
Hmm.
structure it in a way that I am laying the foundation for a signature process to solve their problem.
Okay.
And then near the end, um, what I'll do, without going into all the details, because that would be like a class that we're teaching here, but
Yeah.
what I do is I teach that basically I prove the point that if you have this process, this will fix your problem. And
Right.
then I have a visual something of a tool that I will put up on screen, and I'll say, this is it right here. Like, this is the secret. This is kind of like the secret map. And I'll
Okay.
see everyone pull out their phones to go ahead and screenshot. And as soon as I see their phones come up, I advance the slide so they can't take the photo. I get near the end, and I usually, like, I speak a lot at SHRM conferences, and then I'll
Okay.
say to them, hey, I'm not allowed to sell from stage here,
Yeah.
and I won't, because I have a great relationship with SHRM, but I want to help you out here, and no one said I can't give you something for free. And
Mm,
so even though, my business manager says, don't give this away to you guys, I'm going to. So if you want
right.
it, then
So
I
then
flash
you
it.
have a lead magnet. If they want
Yeah.
that thing, then they need to put their name and email address in there, and that's how you go from there. SHRM, by the way, for anybody that doesn't know, is Society of Human Resource Managers, and that is like a really great. We've had a lot of our clients kind of move through the SHRM networks to build their business, and that's how you end up with a lot of corporate clients. So you would get them really frothing up the mouth for this tool, and then if they put in their name and email address, they'll get the tool. And then what is your follow-up process after that?
Yeah, it's going to depend on the how many leads. The last time I spoke at SHRM National, and I've been there like 9 times now to SHRM National, but
Awesome.
there were just over 1,000 people in the room, and that's what's
Woo!
bizarre about SHRM, right? This is the breakout
Yes.
session. There
Yes.
were 1,000 people in the room, and I think it was 820 people gave me their phone number and their email.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so you have 820 people. So what are you going to do with that? I mean, you have to do something that's manageable, right?
For sure. We've tried different things, everything from I've hired, setters to come in and make initial calls. Sometimes I've done emails. I wish I could tell you like, oh, this is the number one way that works.
Yeah.
I think to be honest, what's worked, this goes with kind of the number two piece that I think I've done well, and that's I've built a email community that has just stuck with me for years, and it's
Love
not
that.
even a big community.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I have made so much money just from this small community because, I'll come out with a new course and I just let people know. And even though that's not a lot of money, it's just by being top of mind. And then people will call me and say, hey, James, I've been following you for 2 years. We need a leadership speaker at our summit,
You're
things
going
like
to be
that.
right time, right place, and so how are you nurturing them in between a course launch or something like that? Are you dripping out like twice a month? You're doing some sort of writing to them, or how are you keeping that email list engaged?
Yeah, when somebody signs up for our newsletter, there's already, I think, 6 months of weekly emails that they will get.
Weekly. Okay.
I write them in a way that it's like I'm just writing to them. So I don't do it like newsletter, and here's the five
Yeah.
different stories. So
Okay.
even though I have a newsletter from time to time, that's not what drives it. Um, and I'll have an assistant go in periodically into our email CRM to make sure that everyone's first name is correct,
Yes.
or to get rid of the second name, so it's just first name. Because
That's good. And your
I want the
duplicates.
emails to be like, hey
Yeah.
Jane,
Yeah.
and story written. So I think that has been a key piece as well, being able to
Okay.
pull such a high number from stage and then
Yes.
have those people on a list.
So that's a lead magnet. So, I mean, we could have named this session just about anything, but having a strong lead magnet, I always talk about it's like dangling a carrot, and the carrot has to be something that so you show them that your system works, and then you show them a tool that they can use the system, but in order to have the tool, they need to, scan a Q. Do you use a QR code for that? Scan
I
a
do
QR.
now.
Yeah.
I mean, I used to have like all these little cards on people's seats, and I've got
Right.
photos of just coming out with literally like a box of hundreds and hundreds of cards, and
Business
then
card.
that was a pain. But sometimes I've done lots of experiments with the lead magnet. Here's the thing though, if you are still get asking people to sign up to your newsletter, I would strongly encourage
Oh
you
my,
to relook at that because
stop
just I
it.
mean it can work. You'll get people to sign up for it, but if
Hmm.
you're not going to get 70% of the audience, right? So
Absolutely not. And nobody wants another newsletter in their inbox. Like I unsubscribe from 5 a week. It's no. So you really need a better carrot.
for sure, for sure.
Yeah.
We've tried different things. So on one of them, because like if I'm speaking to, let's say, HR people, and
Hmm.
I want them to pull my program into their company,
Hmm.
there's times where at the end, I've said, you know what? I'm actually going to give you the program and just you can have it, you can use it, or you can give it to one of your managers. Hey, I mean, I sell this for $1,000, but you can just have it. So
Wow.
when I did that, we had a really high conversion. But
Hmm.
then a couple other HR conferences, I didn't do that. And I just gave them a piece like, hey, here's basically
Right.
the secret of this program.
That
It's in
was
this template. And then even that was 70% conversion. So it's not even so much like what you're giving. Like you don't feel like, well, I don't have enough to give as a lead magnet. It's just got to be in alignment with your presentation. And again, if you're speaking for free, like I view it as never speak for free. Like if you're going in there, then your goal is leads. If you're
yes.
allowed to sell, okay, then make sales your goals. But for most of us, that's not the case.
Yeah.
So your goal has to be leads. And if you want to take it the next step further, then all right, track the value of those leads over time. How much did it cost you to go to that conference? How much did you really spend? So you spent $1,500 to go to that conference and you got 100 leads. Okay. Well, that's what's the math? 15 bucks a lead? Then let's track that over time. That also is going to help you know what conferences are worth going to and which ones are not.
Yes. The fact that you've been to SHRM 9 times just says so much. And having booked SHRM conferences when I was working with the Speakers Bureau, I gotta tell you. I mean, everybody's like, oh, they don't pay their speakers. Well, let me tell you, those keynote roles, I think I booked two $30,000 speakers into them, and more on top of that. They had all kinds of budget for those big, 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 and they get big celebrity names and stuff like that. So just know that SHRM does pay. Do they sometimes they pay their breakout speakers every once in a while? Is that right, James?
I have never been paid. They
Okay.
always pay your expenses
Okay.
and they cover your conference, which is nice on their part. And
Yeah, and that's good for networking for sure. That would be a great place to be.
for sure. I'm not the best networker as an
Oh.
introvert, so I've not done great there. But the first time I got Sherm, I almost turned it down because I didn't know who it was. And they were like, we don't pay our speakers. And I'm like, what? And
You're adorable. Oh my gosh.
I'm so
I
glad I
think
didn't
you
turn it
are
down.
so successful despite yourself. You
It's
don't
true.
you don't like to sell, and you don't want to put anything in your bio that speaks to who you really are, and pumps up your credibility. I think this is so funny. I want to retitle this session, uh getting booked to speak when you're a non-sales person.
Or how to fumble your way to success or something like that. No, Jane, I mean, come on, you helped me a ton, and I've remembered the lessons over the years. So
Oh my
I'm
gosh.
always grateful for you.
Back then, 20 years, nearly 20 years ago, I did not have the tool in my tool belt of the mindset tool. And we just introduced that during COVID, actually. And it has been a total game changer for my clients because really all the things we're talking about right now, they're all just thoughts. They're all just things that are getting in your way. And I love I love to see somebody have success, um, despite it, despite being a little bit afraid to
For
sell
sure.
or not wanting to really ask people for money. I just says so much about your perseverance and about the fact that you have this servant mindset And you've probably given lots of stuff away and left some money on the table, but it's worked for you. And I'm really happy for you, James. I think that's outstanding. So, okay,
So,
let me
yeah.
ask you this. If you were gonna do it all over again, what advice would you be give to young James back 20 years ago?
Well, I'm so glad to hear about you adding in the mindset because, if I want to look at enemy number one that has cost me millions and millions of dollars, it is my mindset.
Yeah.
In that, so, okay, kudos to me that I continue to persevere and go and go and go. But
Yeah.
my own insecurities have kept me off of even bigger stages because I'm like, well, what do I know, right? Like, who am I? And here's the thing, if you are waiting on external validation, it
Mhm.
actually doesn't matter how much you get until you believe it yourself. So
Yes.
I can get invited by John Maxwell's team. I can get these companies to say like, wow, like our engagement scores skyrocketed after your program. It
Hmm.
doesn't matter what anyone says until you believe it yourself. And I went through a shift quite recently where I really had to say, hey, can you just like trust yourself? And I found that I was always over preparing and stressing out. And I'm like, why am I still stressing?
Yeah.
Whatever, 15 years later, can you just trust yourself and go into this maybe a little less prepared than you're used to? And
Mm.
then I did just fine. So,
Yeah.
um,
Your advice to your younger
yes, sorry,
self
I didn't
would
answer your question.
be, well,
Advice.
I feel like we're kind of getting there, but I want to just like nail it down. So what would it be?
Two things. Number one is you really have to believe in yourself. And of course, you're not perfect. Have a growth mindset. And the second would be let's not boil the ocean. Find one specific problem that you can speak on, that you feel authority, and just focus there. Your business will broaden. Of course, it will, but
Yes.
start small.
Yeah, that's really good. That's great advice for people just starting out. So, if you're looking to leave your day job, we got you covered there. If you're looking to figure out a strong lead magnet and how to pull the business with you from the audience into, we know that Sherm's a great place. We know that you want to dangle a strong carrot. But we also know that having a strong mindset is so important, and really believing in yourself first. And I think sometimes it takes people, there's this whole four C's, with confidence being one of them, um, being committed is one of them, building capability is one of the four C's. And you think that you need them in the wrong order. You don't need confidence to get started. You just have to be committed, and then you'll build confidence as you go. It's quite interesting to see. The commitment really has to be there, right?
100%. And that fourth C, which is about challenge, right? That's the growth mindset. That's that idea of let me just try it. And I'm not going to judge myself if I fail or not.
Yeah.
And the more you can step into that I don't have to be perfect, but I'm going to give it my best. And then what did I learn? And I think if there was another thing I did is I was ruthlessly devoted to the practice of being on stage. So every time I went into a presentation, especially early on, I was like, what's my one goal? And it could be like, I'm going to make more eye contact. I'm going to try to have a conversation with an audience member. And at the end, I would get on the plane to go home and, hey, what went well? And
Yeah.
what do I want to do different next time? And I just continually did that. And I think that helped out a ton.
I'm thinking about you at Sherm 9 times, and being your introverted self and not wanting to get out there and move and shake.
For sure.
Oh, that's so funny.
But
Well,
yeah,
that might be a challenge for people. I'm going to get out and I'm going to meet 5 new people today. Yes, I will feel uncomfortable doing it. Yes, I will need to step out of my comfort zone, but I'll do it.
even to this day, I go to let's say Sherm use that one, a big breakout. You got 1,000 people there. Still to this day, I'm like, I have to force myself. I go and meet people in the front row, and then I
Yeah.
usually go stand at the door with the volunteers, and I just like have fun with people. They have no idea I'm the speaker, and I'll
Right.
see their
Yeah,
name
I heard this
tag, and
guy's good. You can like plant
yeah,
little things in their ears.
I don't say that. I say, "Are
Oh,
you sure
that's
you want to
funny.
come to this? You sure you want to be in this session?"
Yeah.
Right? I'm more like that, but
Yeah,
yeah, it's all good.
your humility comes through. Oh, that's great. Hey, James, so people might want to be in touch with you. Where are you? Are you on LinkedIn? Where can people find you? How's the best way to connect?
Yeah, please connect on LinkedIn, James Robbins, or go to jamesrobbins.com, two B's, jamesrobbins.com. You can
Okay.
find me there.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you just really coming and being vulnerable about, what you do well and what you don't do well. It's really been a pleasure catching up with you, James.
You as well. And again, I just wanted to say, when I saw you had a podcast, I thought, well, let me volunteer to come on because you helped me out at a time when, I just didn't have a lot of money, and for whatever reason you wanted to help me. I
I don't know.
appreciate that. Still, it was an important step in my journey. So thank you,
That's
Jane.
funny. Well, I must have really made an exception to my rules because I am not one to negotiate my fees. So I'd say you got lucky there, pal. And I'm really happy that you did, and I'm really happy that you circled back to catch up. And you reached out of your introverted nature and said, "Hey, I'd like to be on your podcast." And I said, "Absolutely." So there you go. That's the great thing about taking a chance and reaching out.
For sure.
I'm glad you did it. Thank you so much for being here. And hey, if you've got any feedback for me, jane@speakerlauncher.com, I'd love to hear from you. Thank you, James. We'll see you soon, Wealthy Speakers. Bye
Thanks,
for
Jane.
now, everyone.
Thanks for listening to the Wealthy Speaker Podcast. If you need help building the speaking business of your dreams, head over to wealthyspeakerschool.com and take advantage of our 20-minute next step call. Thanks for listening to the Wealthy Speaker Podcast.